All right, let's dive into the legendary mind of Alexander the Great. Get ready, because we're about to uncover the secrets behind his unbroken chain of victories. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're not just talking about history, we're dissecting genius. We're talking about a man whose name still echoes through the ages, Alexander the Great. When Alexander III of Macedon rode into battle, the world didn't just notice, it trembled. By the incredibly young age of 30, he had accomplished something truly unprecedented. He had conquered more of the known world than any individual before him. Think about it. From the heartland of Greece, across the vast lands of Egypt, through the mighty Persian Empire, all the way to the distant borders of India, his empire stretched across 3 massive continents. But what truly set Alexander apart? Was it just sheer ambition? Unquestionable charisma? While he certainly had those in spades, the real answer lies deeper. It was his mind. Alexander the Great never lost a single battle, not once in over a decade of relentless, constant warfare. That's right, an undefeated streak stretching for years. So what was his secret? How did he achieve such an astonishing feat? His secret was a battle strategy so incredibly precise, so remarkably adaptable, and so profoundly psychological that even today modern generals and military strategists still pore over his campaigns, studying every move. His journey to military supremacy didn't begin in a vacuum. It all started in Macedonia, under the watchful and often demanding eye of his father, King Philip II. Philip was a visionary, a ruthless reformer who meticulously transformed the Macedonian army from a regional force into an unstoppable war machine. He didn't just give Alexander an army, he instilled in him a foundational idea. That true victory doesn't come solely from overwhelming numbers. Instead, it springs from meticulous discipline, perfect timing, and unparalleled flexibility on the battlefield. Alexander would take his father's groundbreaking innovations and not just adopt them but perfect them, elevating them to an art form. At the very heart of Alexander's tactical genius was the formidable Macedonian phalanx. This wasn't just a group of soldiers. It was a living, breathing, unyielding wall. It was a formation of tightly packed infantrymen, armed with the fearsome sarissa, a spear that was often twice the length of a normal one, sometimes reaching up to 20 feet. Imagine this wall of bristling spears, advancing in unison like a human machine, absolutely unstoppable from the front. But here's the crucial twist. Alexander didn't primarily use the phalanx to win battles outright. His brilliant insight was to use it to hold his enemies firmly in place, to fix them, to pin them down. The real decisive strike, the knockout blow, came from another element of his army, his legendary cavalry. These were the companions, an elite unit, hand-picked, fiercely loyal, and often led by Alexander himself, riding at their head. While the phalanx performed its relentless pinning action, Alexander's cavalry would execute a sweeping maneuver, swinging around the enemy's flanks like a devastating hammer. This move would shatter their lines, create chaos, and ultimately crush their will to fight. This was famously known as the hammer-and-anvil strategy, a concept that was centuries ahead of its time and still studied today. The phalanx, with its immovable density and relentless pressure, was the anvil, solid, unyielding, and relentless. The cavalry, with its incredible speed, precision, and overwhelming force, was the hammer, fast, decisive, and utterly devastating. Together, they created a rhythm of destruction that very few armies in history could possibly survive. But Alexander's genius extended far beyond just formations and weaponry. He was a true master of deception, a brilliant interpreter of terrain, and a keen observer of human psychology. Let's take the iconic Battle of Gaugamela, for example. Here he faced the mighty Persian king Darius III and an army that outnumbered his by an astounding margin, almost 5-1. Darius had everything at his disposal: terrifying war elephants, scythed chariots designed to shred infantry, and the vast open Persian plains that seemed perfect for his superior numbers. What did Alexander have? Discipline, unwavering courage, and an unmatched cunning. He deliberately extended his right flank, making it appear vulnerable, almost inviting Darius to attack. This shrewd move lured Darius into stretching his own massive line thin, creating gaps and weaknesses. When the Persians overcommitted, eager to exploit what they thought was an opening, Alexander saw his true opportunity. He struck like lightning, driving a wedge straight at the heart of the Persian formation, directly towards Darius himself. The Persian line, suddenly fragmented and leaderless, broke, and Darius fled in disarray. In one audacious, perfectly executed move, Alexander transformed impossible odds into a total, overwhelming victory. He understood psychology as much as he understood tactics. His enemies didn't just lose to his army, they lost to the idea of Alexander. His speed on campaign was legendary. His ability to appear where he shouldn't possibly be was terrifying to his adversaries. He marched his troops across blistering deserts, over towering mountains, and through rivers that were thought to be impassable. When his enemies expected a retreat, he attacked with ferocity. When they braced for an attack, he would vanish, reappearing somewhere else entirely. Every single move he made had a specific purpose: to keep the enemy guessing, to sow confusion and fear, to make fear itself fight the battle long before swords ever clashed. He crippled their morale before a single blow was struck. Alexander also truly mastered the art of adaptation, a cornerstone of his success. Against the highly organized Persian armies, he relied heavily on his disciplined formations and the hammer and anvil. But against the elusive mountain tribes of Central Asia, he completely changed his approach, transforming his army into agile, lightning-fast guerrilla fighters, using their own tactics against them. When he encountered the fearsome war elephants of India, a terrifying new weapon, he didn't falter. Instead, he quickly developed flexible spear tactics, specifically targeting the animals' vulnerable legs and their handlers. No matter the opponent, the treacherous terrain, or the challenging conditions, he evolved, he innovated, and he did it fast. This unparalleled adaptability was key to his undefeated record. But perhaps his greatest strength, the true secret weapon, was the unbreakable bond he forged with his men. Alexander didn't command from a distant tent in the rear. He led from the absolute front. He bled with his soldiers, he marched alongside them through scorching heat and bitter cold, and he shared their hardships, their hunger, and their fears. This created an extraordinary level of loyalty, a devotion that made his army truly unstoppable. They didn't just fight for him, in many ways they fought as him. To them, Alexander wasn't just a king, he was destiny made flesh, a divine leader who would guide them to ultimate glory. Every battle under Alexander's command was, in a sense, a grand performance, and he understood the immense value of spectacle. He would wear shining armor that caught the sun, making him a beacon on the battlefield. He rode his magnificent horse Bucephalus at the very vanguard of his forces, becoming a living symbol of courage and imminent victory. His mere presence could rally troops who were on the brink of collapse, turning the tide of a desperate fight. When his beloved horse Bucephalus was tragically killed in battle, he famously wept. And then, as a testament to their bond, he named an entire city after him. To his men, these actions, this profound connection, meant everything. From the strategic brilliance displayed at Issus to the audacious victory at Gaugamela, from the epic siege of Tyre to the hard-fought triumph at Hydaspes, the pattern repeated itself consistently. Meticulous analysis of the enemy's swift adaptation to changing circumstances and ultimately annihilation of his foes. He studied his enemies with intense focus, relentlessly exploited their weaknesses, but crucially, he never underestimated them. He understood that war wasn't just about raw destruction, it was fundamentally about control. Control of territory, control of resources, and control of minds. Every city he took, every kingdom he conquered, became part of a larger, grand design, an empire built on a potent mix of both fear and respect. Even his defeats, if we can call them that, were more moral than military. When his weary troops finally refused to march further into India, it wasn't because they had lost faith in his leadership or his abilities on the battlefield. It was because they had reached the absolute edge of the known world, having followed their extraordinary commander farther than any army in recorded history. They had simply given all they could give. Alexander the Great's undefeated record was not the result of mere luck, favorable circumstances, or overwhelming numbers alone. It was the culmination of an incredible blend of military innovation, raw courage, and strategic precision, all guided by an intellect that understood human nature as deeply as it grasped military science. He believed that to conquer the world, you must first conquer the mind, both your own, instilling unwavering self-belief, and your enemies by breaking their will. And so centuries later, his astonishing legacy endures. Modern generals still study his tactics, seeking inspiration and insight. Military academies across the globe still teach his maneuvers, dissecting his campaigns for timeless lessons. And historians still marvel at how one man born in a relatively small kingdom on the edge of Greece could forge an empire that spanned continents with nothing more than sheer strategy, indomitable willpower, and the blinding brilliance of his mind. Alexander the Great didn't just win battles, he utterly redefined what victory truly meant. What do you think was Alexander's most brilliant move? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this dive into military history fascinating, please hit that like button, share this video with fellow history buffs, and don't forget to subscribe for more journeys into the past. We've got so many more incredible stories to tell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.